Welcome to the Rochester, New Hampshire History Podcast, a monthly show that will shine a light on a piece of history that has been all but forgotten.
New Hampshire was known for its brickmaking. An abundance of local clay in the state allowed brickmaking to flourish. Because bricks could be manufactured with a few simple tools, it was one of the few industries practiced in colonial America. The discovery of deposits of clay in Gonic helped facilitate brick construction in the area. Gonic's rich clay deposits, when mixed with water and sand, produced high-quality bricks. Just when bricks were first made in Rochester is unknown. There were several small brickyards that have been forgotten. These old brickyards produced a few thousand bricks, just enough to make a few chimneys and a foundation for a building. In the 1860s, there was a brickyard on Hancock Street owned by Charles Bradley. The brick for the Methodist Church, built in 1868, came from there. In 1873, the Rochester Courier reported that 4 new brickyards were opened near the Gonic Railroad Depot. One of these yards can be seen in this 1884 map of Gonic. The Yeaton and Company Brickyard is located near the bottom of the map, near Railroad Avenue.
The November 15, 1889 Rochester Courier reported that Rochester was the home of the brick-making industry in the state. More bricks and better bricks are made within Rochester than other towns. The article also reported the following information about local brickmakers. The Elliott Brothers Brickyard made 2,700,000 bricks in the past year using 30 men and 9 horses. Ritchie and Osborne Brickyard manufactured over 4.5 million bricks with 85 employees and 18 horses. The Richardson Brickyard produced 6.5 million bricks with 85 men and 13 horses. The Anderson and Warren Company operated 2 brickyards and they produced 11 million bricks using 160 employees. Around this time, the workers of these yards were paid $24 a month, or they could choose $1.25 a day. However, on rainy days, you could not work, so getting paid daily, you would lose money on wet days. Most workers took the guaranteed monthly $24.
Not all the local brickmakers were in Gonic. The Kel Fire Brick Company was located on Glenwood Avenue in Rochester. They manufactured special fire-resistant bricks with silica mined from Blue Job Mountain. These bricks were used in furnaces and boilers. The brick-making process was labor-intensive. Let's take a look at the steps involved in making freshly dug clay into bricks. Since Gonic had massive deposits of clay, these clay fields were plowed to break the clay into manageable sizes. The clay was harvested from the field and transported to a horse-powered pug mill. Here, horses pulled a heavy wheel over the clay, pulverizing any large stones. Then the clay was ready to be tempered, which is simply mixing water and sand to create the needed consistency for molding into bricks. As technology advanced, the horse-powered mill was replaced with machines that performed the same job more efficiently. The clay was then removed from the mill and delivered to the molding area. There, the sticky clay was pressed into a brick mold by hand and the excess clay removed from the top of it. Eventually, this job also became mechanized. The bricks were removed from the molds and moved to the outside. They were placed far enough apart so the wind could blow through all the bricks. In case of rain, one had to run out and cover the bricks with a tarp. Ironically, if there was too much sun, the top of the brick could dry too quickly and the brick would split open. Because of this, on very sunny days, the bricks were shaded with a tarp. After air drying for days, the bricks were ready to be baked in a kiln at a very high temperature to harden them up and give them their final color and strength. Thousands of acres of forest were logged to provide the fuel for these fires. After baking, the finished brick was removed from the kiln, and the backbreaking work of loading bricks onto a train car began. The trains then transported the bricks to local destinations or to construction sites throughout the nation. Some of the institutions that use Gonic bricks are the University of New Hampshire, Yale University, MIT, Harvard, and even the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit.
By the 1920s, the brick-making industry was fading because of the rise of alternative building materials such as cement and steel. The Great Depression and the Second World War also caused many brickyards to shut down as well. The brick-making business of Gonic ended with the closing of the Kane Gonic Brick Corporation in the 1990s. You can still find remnants of the Gonic brick industry. Throughout the fields and woods of Gonic are piles of bricks that have been overrun with plants and vines. They are a reminder when Gonic was once home to the thriving business of brickmaking.
This ends the podcast. If you have any questions or comments, please email bobgriffinpodcast@gmail.com and come back next month for another episode of Rochester, New Hampshire history.